The curvy girl kissed the Mafia boss on a dare the next morning. Nothing in her life was the same. What happens when one simple dare crosses a line no one expected? And how could a single kiss change everything by the very next morning? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here for another story filled with unexpected turns and powerful emotions. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Thank you for watching, supporting, and continuing to share these journeys with us. And tell me in the comments, would you ever kiss a complete stranger just because your friends dared you to? Now, get comfortable, settle in, and let's go back to the moment when one seemingly harmless dare was about to begin. I should have known something was wrong when everyone stopped laughing. 1 second, my friends were cheering like we were 21 again, and the next, the entire lounge had gone so quiet I could hear the ice settling in my champagne glass. It was my 27th birthday, and I had made exactly one promise to myself. No crying over my ex, no checking work emails, and absolutely no letting Madison talk me into anything stupid. I broke the third promise before midnight. "Come on, Emily," Madison said, leaning across our table with that dangerous smile she'd had since college. "One dare? Birthday rules." I should have said no. I usually did. I was the responsible one. The woman who organized hotel events for 500 guests without losing a seating chart, who kept spare flats under her desk and emergency safety pins in her purse. But that night, after 2 years of playing everything safe, I was tired of being predictable. "Fine," I said. "What's the dare?" Madison pointed across the room. "Kiss the hottest stranger here." I followed her finger toward the private section near the windows. He sat alone at the end of a long leather booth, wearing a charcoal suit that looked tailored down to the last stitch. Dark hair, broad shoulders, a watch that probably cost more than my car. But what caught me was his stillness. Everyone else in the lounge was performing somehow, laughing. Too loudly, checking phones, trying to be noticed. He wasn't. He looked like a man who had never needed anyone's attention because attention came to him. "Absolutely not," I whispered. My friends laughed. That should have been the end of it. Instead, I stood. Maybe it was the champagne. Maybe it was my birthday. Maybe I wanted, for once, to be the woman who didn't spend 10 minutes wondering whether her dress made her look too curvy before walking across a room. Whatever the reason, I crossed the lounge before common sense could catch me. The closer I got, the stranger everything felt. A server stepped aside so quickly he nearly bumped a chair. 2 men near the booth stopped talking. The stranger lifted his eyes to mine. Gray-blue, calm, unreadable. I almost turned around. Almost. "Hi," I said, suddenly aware of my heartbeat. This is going to sound ridiculous. One eyebrow lifted. Usually the interesting things do. His voice was low and unmistakably American, with the faintest trace of something Italian in the rhythm. I swallowed. My friends dared me to do something stupid. His gaze moved briefly toward my table, then back to me. "And I'm the stupid thing?" I laughed despite myself. "Technically, you're the innocent bystander." Then, before I could reconsider, I leaned down and gave him one quick, harmless kiss. Barely a second. I pulled back immediately, my face burning. "Sorry. It was a dare." I turned toward my friends, expecting screaming and applause. Nobody moved. Nobody smiled. Behind me, the stranger spoke quietly to the man beside him. "Who is she?" And somehow, without knowing his name, I knew my birthday had just become something I would remember for the rest of my life. I made it back to our table on legs that suddenly felt borrowed. Madison stared at me with both hands covering her mouth. Tyler, our co-worker from the hotel, looked like someone had just informed him the building was on fire. "What?" I whispered. "Why is everyone looking at me like that?" Madison leaned closer. "Emily, do you know who you just kissed?" I glanced over my shoulder. The stranger had not moved. He was still watching me, one hand resting beside his untouched drink, while 3 men in dark suits stood nearby with the quiet attention of people who were not there for the music. "No," I said. "That was sort of the point of kissing a stranger." Tyler lowered his voice. "That is Vincent Moretti." The name meant nothing for half a second. Then it did. Moretti Logistics. Moretti Development. Moretti Foundation. His name appeared on buildings, charity programs, and business pages all over New York. But there were also quieter stories, the kind people repeated carefully and never around microphones. Stories about influence, connections, Doors that opened when Vincent Moretti entered a room. You dared me to kiss him, I hissed at Madison. I did not know it was him. Neither did I. Wonderful. That makes this much better. I reached for my purse. Birthday over. Adventure completed. Common sense had finally arrived, and it was demanding immediate evacuation. I made it 10 feet before a server stepped into my path. Miss Carter, I stopped. How do you know my name? His expression became apologetic. Mr. Moretti would like a moment. Of course he would. I considered leaving anyway, but something stubborn rose inside me. I had embarrassed myself. Fine. I could apologize like an adult and go home. Vincent was standing near the windows when I approached. Up close, he seemed less mysterious and somehow more intimidating, not because he did anything threatening, but because everyone around him appeared to measure their movements against his. Mr. Moretti, I began. Vincent, I think Mr. Moretti is safer. Something almost like amusement touched his eyes. For whom? I ignored that. I wanted to apologize. My friends dared me. I did not know who you were. Would knowing have changed your decision? Completely. Interesting. He studied me for a moment. Most people behave differently after they learn my name. Maybe that should concern you. Silence. My stomach dropped. Then Vincent smiled. It was small, unexpected, and somehow made him look younger. Emily Carter, he said. I froze. I never told you my name. No. Then how do you know it? His gaze shifted briefly toward the employee badge still clipped to my purse. From my evening shift. I looked down and wanted the floor to swallow me. Vincent nodded toward it. Your mystery is safe. Heat rushed into my face. Right. Good. Then we are finished here. Are we? I met his eyes. Yes. For the first time that night, Vincent Moretti looked genuinely surprised. I walked away before my courage could disappear. By 12:30, I was in a cab heading home, convinced the strangest night of my life was behind me. At 8:15 the next morning, I walked into the Grand Ellison Hotel carrying coffee and found our general manager waiting beside my desk. His face was pale. Emily, he said, what exactly did you do last night? I stopped cold. He placed a reservation file in front of me. Vincent Moretti had booked the entire penthouse floor for 3 months. Then my manager pointed to the account assignment. My name was printed at the top. My name on that page felt less like an assignment and more like a question nobody had bothered asking me. I stared at it while my coffee cooled between my hands. There has to be someone else, I said. My manager, Daniel Whitmore, adjusted his tie. Daniel had managed the Grand Ellison for 11 years and treated unexpected problems like personal insults. This morning, he looked unusually nervous. Mr. Moretti requested you specifically. Then tell him I am unavailable. Daniel blinked. Emily, he reserved 14 suites for 90 days. That is impressive. The account is worth more than some weddings we host in an entire year. Still impressive. Please do not make me explain why I cannot tell him no. That sentence bothered me more than the reservation. At 9:30, I stepped into the private conference room on the 42nd floor with my tablet pressed against my chest. Vincent stood by the windows overlooking Manhattan, morning sunlight turning the city behind him into silver glass. No nightclub shadows. No champagne. No dare. Somehow, he looked even more composed. Miss Carter, he said. Mr. Moretti. His eyes moved to the coffee in my hand. Oat milk latte. 2 shots. No sugar. I stopped. How do you know that? You ordered one at the lounge before switching to champagne. You remember what strangers drink. Only memorable strangers. I set my coffee down. Let us establish something immediately. I am here because this hotel assigned me to your account. Last night was a mistake. You apologized already. Good. Then we understand each other. Not remotely. He sat across from me. I opened the reservation file and forced myself into professional mode. 14 suites. Private conference access. Restricted elevator service. 3 months. Everything about the booking was excessive, but technically legitimate. Will you be hosting events? I asked. Several meetings. Guest lists. My office will provide them. Security requirements? Already coordinated. Of course they were. I made another note. Vincent watched me instead of the tablet. Finally, I lowered it. Is there something wrong? I am trying to understand something. About the reservation? About you. My shoulders tightened. I am not part of the reservation. Last night, you walked across a room where everyone else knew exactly who I was. You kissed me, apologized, and walked away. I was dared. Then you learned my name. His voice remained quiet. And suddenly you were afraid. I held his gaze. I was not afraid. You left very quickly. Because I had embarrassed myself. That is not the whole answer. I should have stayed professional. Instead, I heard myself say, fine. Last night you were just a man sitting alone. This morning you are Vincent Moretti, and people change their voices when they say your name. Something shifted behind his eyes. So the name matters. The way people react to it matters. He leaned back. And how do you react? By doing my job. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he smiled, faintly. Good. I frowned. Good. Everyone around me eventually starts trying to impress me. I was hoping you would not. I closed the file. You booked an entire hotel floor to test that theory. No. The amusement disappeared. I booked it because I need it. And requesting me. That was curiosity. Curiosity is not a good reason to interfere with someone's work. Vincent considered that, then nodded once. Fair. I had expected resistance. The agreement unsettled me more. I stood. If that is everything, I have a ballroom inspection downstairs. Emily. I turned. His expression had changed. Calm still, but serious now. Last night, you thought I was alone. You were sitting alone. Those are not the same thing. I did not understand what he meant. Not yet. I reached the door before he added. And for what it is worth, I did not ask for you because of the kiss. My hand stopped on the handle. I looked back. Then why? Vincent glanced toward the city beyond the glass. Because there was something happening in that lounge last night that you never noticed. My heartbeat stumbled. What happened? His eyes returned to mine. That is exactly what I need to find out. Vincent let the question hang between us long enough to make me hate it. What exactly did I not notice? I asked. He glanced toward the conference room door, where one of his associates waited outside, then back at me. Nothing you need to worry about today. I almost laughed. You cannot tell someone there was something happening around them and then expect them not to worry. I can if worrying will not help. That might work with your employees. I picked up my tablet. It does not work with me. For the first time, irritation flickered across his face, but it vanished so quickly I wondered if I imagined it. I noticed. I left before curiosity could make me stay. For the next 4 days, Vincent Moretti became part of my workday in ways I had never approved. At 7:15 Tuesday morning, a black sedan waited outside my apartment building. The driver politely informed me that Mr. Moretti had arranged transportation while I managed his account. I took the subway. Wednesday, a florist delivered 24 white roses to my desk. I sent them upstairs with a note that said the penthouse needed decoration more than I did. Thursday, Daniel handed me a reservation at one of Manhattan's hardest restaurants to book. Dinner for 2. 8 o'clock. I canceled it. Friday morning, I stepped onto the 42nd floor and found Vincent waiting by the elevators. You sent back the car. Yes. The flowers. Also. Yes. You canceled dinner. You are very observant. He fell into step beside me as I walked toward the penthouse. Most people enjoy gifts. Most people probably know whether they are gifts or obligations. He stopped. So did I. Morning light stretched across the marble floor between us. I do not buy people, Emily. His voice was quieter now. Then stop spending money every time you want my attention. That landed. I saw it in the sudden stillness of his face. He could have become angry. Instead, he nodded. Fair. There was that word again. I folded my arms. You keep agreeing with me. It is unsettling. Would you prefer an argument? I would prefer boundaries. Name them. I had not expected that. No cars unless I request one. No flowers at work. No surprise reservations. And no asking Daniel to rearrange my schedule so you can see me. Vincent considered each condition like terms in a contract. Done. Just like that. You said no. He looked almost confused by my surprise. I know what the word means. Something inside me softened, just slightly, and I immediately resented it. Good. I turned toward the service corridor. Then we understand each other. Not remotely, he said behind me, echoing our first meeting. I refused to smile. That afternoon, I coordinated a private luncheon for his business guests. Watching Vincent from across the ballroom taught me more than every rumor I had heard. He never raised his voice. He never demanded attention. He did not need to. Men twice his age waited for him to finish speaking. Executives checked his expression before answering questions. Even Daniel, who could charm a complaint out of anyone, became unusually careful around him. Yet when a young banquet server dropped a tray near the entrance, Vincent was the first person to crouch down and help gather the unbroken silverware. No announcement, no performance. He simply helped, told the embarrassed kid, "It happens," and returned to his meeting. That small moment bothered me because it did not fit the version of him I had built in my head. Near sunset, I found him alone on the terrace. "You are staring," he said without turning. "I am working." "You have been working in my direction for 10 minutes. I stepped beside him, leaving several feet between us. "You confuse me." Vincent looked toward Manhattan. "Good. Certainty makes people careless." Before I could answer, his phone vibrated. He read the message, and every trace of warmth disappeared from his expression. Then he looked at me. "Emily, did anyone approach you after you left the lounge Friday night?" My stomach tightened. "No." "Why?" "Because someone has been asking the hotel staff about the woman who kissed me." "Someone is asking about me?" My voice came out quieter than I intended. Vincent slipped his phone into his pocket. "Not by name. That is supposed to make me feel better?" "No. It is supposed to make you careful." The city stretched below us, bright and ordinary, while my thoughts suddenly felt anything but. "Who is asking?" I said. "I am finding out. And until then, do not change your routine. Do not speak to strangers who ask about Friday night. If anything feels unusual, call me." I stared at him. "You realize that telling me not to worry while giving me instructions like that is ridiculous." His expression softened. "Yes." Before I could answer, the terrace lights flickered. Once, twice. Then everything went dark. Somewhere inside the hotel, an alarm chimed softly before emergency lighting washed the hallway in dim red. "Great," I muttered. Exactly what this conversation needed. Vincent almost smiled. We headed inside, but the elevator doors opened before the backup system locked them out. I stepped in automatically. Vincent followed. The doors closed. We descended 3 floors before the elevator stopped. Not violently, just a quiet mechanical sigh, then stillness. I pressed the call button. "Engineering is resetting the system," a voice told us. "Approximately 15 minutes." I leaned against the wall. "Perfect." Vincent loosened his tie slightly. "You handle inconvenience badly. I handle being trapped badly." His amusement disappeared. "Are you claustrophobic?" "Not exactly." I looked at the glowing floor numbers frozen above the door. "I just like exits." "So do I." Something in the way he said it made me look at him. Without the city behind him, without assistants or tailored rooms or people waiting for his approval, Vincent seemed different. Still controlled. Just more human. "Is that why you always sit where you can see the door?" I asked. He paused. "You noticed." Occupational habit. Event managers notice everything. Almost everything. I ignored the reference to Friday. "You said certainty makes people careless." "Who taught you that?" For several seconds, only the ventilation fan answered. "My father," he finally said. "He trusted the wrong person once. It cost our family years we never got back." There was no drama in his voice. That made it feel more honest. "I am sorry. Do not be. It happened a long time ago. Old things can still hurt." His eyes met mine. "You sound experienced." I looked down at my hands. My ex had a talent for making me feel like I should apologize for taking up space. Too loud. Too ambitious. Too curvy. Too much of everything. Vincent's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. He was wrong. "You do not know me well enough to say that. I know you walked into a room full of people trying to become smaller around me, and somehow you became more yourself." I forgot how to answer. The red emergency light softened the hard lines of his face. For one dangerous second, the elevator felt too quiet, too small. We were standing closer than before. Vincent did not move toward me. That mattered. "The first kiss was a dare," I whispered. His gaze held mine. "Then I can wait until the second one is not." My heartbeat stumbled. Before I could respond, the lights returned. The elevator hummed back to life, and the moment disappeared beneath bright, white ceiling panels. When the doors opened, one of Vincent's associates was waiting. He handed Vincent a tablet. Vincent read the screen, and the warmth left his eyes. "What is it?" I asked. He hesitated, then turned the tablet toward me. A security image from Friday night showed me approaching his table. Behind us, barely 20 feet away, 2 men were exchanging a small black envelope. One of them was looking directly at me. Vincent spoke quietly. "Emily, I think your dare put you in the middle of something neither of us saw coming." I stared at the security image until the people in it stopped looking like strangers and started looking like a problem. What was in the envelope? I asked. Vincent took the tablet back. Information. That is conveniently vague. Because I do not know exactly what information yet. We moved into the penthouse lounge, where afternoon sunlight poured across pale hardwood floors. Vincent's associates remained outside. For once, he closed the door himself. The man receiving it worked for one of my companies, he said. Worked? He disappeared from his position Monday morning. My stomach tightened. And the other man? Someone connected to people who would benefit from knowing things about my business before they become public. So corporate espionage. Vincent studied me. Among other things. I folded my arms. And you were at the lounge because of them. Yes. The answer came too quickly. Too cleanly. Pieces began clicking together in my head. His sudden hotel reservation. His request for me. The cars. The flowers. His constant presence. You knew, I said. Not everything. But you knew enough. He said nothing. That silence answered for him. You did not request me because you were curious. Not entirely. Anger rose hot beneath my ribs. You put me on your account because you wanted me where you could watch me. Where I could make sure you were safe. Without telling me why. Because I did not want you frightened by a possibility. I laughed once, without humor. Vincent, normal people call that withholding information. Normal people do not usually have this problem. There it is. I stepped closer, not because I was fearless, but because I was tired of feeling managed. You think having power means you get to decide what everyone else should know. His expression hardened. I think keeping someone safe sometimes requires decisions they will not understand immediately. Then explain them. Silence again. This time I refused to fill it. Finally, Vincent exhaled. The camera caught you at the exact moment the exchange happened. From their perspective, you may have seen something. But I did not. They do. Not know that. And someone asking about me means they're trying to find out. He nodded. A cold feeling moved through me, but I forced myself to think instead of panic. I asked to see the image again. Vincent handed me the tablet. I enlarged the frame. 2 men. Black envelope. My ridiculous birthday dress. Vincent seated beneath the amber light. Then I noticed something behind them. A brass service cart. A white linen cover. A small gold emblem. Wait. I zoomed in. That card is not from the lounge. Vincent leaned closer. How can you tell? Because I manage events for a living. The Grand Ellison uses that exact linen pattern for executive catering. The lounge uses black carts with silver trim. His attention sharpened. You are certain? I have argued with vendors over napkin colors. I am painfully certain. I looked at the man holding the envelope. A narrow card hung from his jacket pocket. Not a name tag. A temporary access credential. That badge is ours too. Vincent immediately reached for his phone. I caught his wrist before thinking better of it. Do not call anyone yet. His eyes dropped to my hand, then returned to my face. I released him. If someone inside the hotel gave him that badge, calling the wrong person warns them. Vincent became very still. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. You keep surprising me. Please do not sound pleased. I am having a terrible week. His smile disappeared, but something warmer remained. Emily, this is why I wanted you close. Because I recognize catering equipment? Because when everyone else sees danger, you look for details. I glanced again at the image, and one more detail caught my eye. The temporary badge carried a tiny blue stripe across its bottom edge. My breath stopped. Vincent, what? That is not a guest credential. I looked up at him. Blue means executive access. Only 3 people at the Grand Ellison can authorize one, and one of them assigned me to your account. The blue stripe changed everything. I wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation, but I had printed enough executive credentials to know there was not. Daniel is one of the 3, I said. Vincent watched my face. Carefully. Who are the others? Our security director, Rebecca Shaw, and the regional vice president, Martin Keller. But Daniel assigned me to you. That does not make him guilty. I know. I hated how quickly I had needed to say it. Daniel had hired me for years earlier. He remembered employee birthdays. He sent handwritten notes after difficult events. Suspicion felt ugly when it had a familiar face. Vincent reached for his phone again. I can have this investigated quietly. By your people? Yes. No. His eyebrows lifted. Emily, someone already knows enough about your operation to make you nervous. If there is also someone inside my hotel helping them, Sending a group of strangers asking questions will announce exactly what we know. Vincent studied me for a long moment. What do you suggest? That question surprised me more than it should have. A week earlier, Vincent Moretti had been a stranger everyone feared. Now he was asking for my plan. We checked the event records, I said. Temporary executive badges require an authorization number. Catering carts are logged by service corridor. If the same person authorized both, we have something real. 20 minutes later, I was at my desk pretending to finalize banquet invoices while Vincent waited upstairs. My hands were steady. My heartbeat was not. I opened Friday's access report. 43 temporary credentials. I filtered executive access. 4 remained. One had been issued at 10:52 that night to a name I did not recognize, Aaron Blake. Authorization code, MK7. Martin Keller. I stared at the screen. Then I checked service logs. At 10:38, an executive catering card had been released from storage under a special request. Same authorization code, MK7. My phone rang. Daniel. Emily, can you come to my office? Every instinct told me not to move. I am finishing the Moretti account summary. This will only take a minute. His voice sounded normal. That somehow made it worse. Of course. I texted Vincent 4 words before standing. Martin Keller authorized both. Then I walked toward Daniel's office. Halfway there, the elevator opened. Vincent stepped out alone. No entourage. No dramatic entrance. He simply met my eyes. You did not have to come down, I said. Yes, I did. I can handle a conversation. I know. He lowered his voice. That is why I am not stopping you. Something about those words settled me. He was not taking control. He was standing beside me. Daniel's office door opened before we reached it. Daniel appeared, looked at Vincent, then at me. Mr. Moretti, I was not expecting you. Neither was Emily, Vincent said calmly. Daniel's expression tightened. This concerns hotel business. Then Emily can speak for herself. I almost looked at Vincent in surprise. Instead, I faced Daniel. Why did Martin Keller authorize an executive credential for Aaron Blake on Friday night? Daniel went completely still. That was answer enough. He closed his office door behind him and lowered his voice. Because Keller told me it was for a private investor meeting. I did not know anything was wrong until yesterday. Yesterday? I asked. Daniel nodded toward his desk. Keller asked me for copies of your personnel file and home address. The room seemed to tilt. Vincent's expression turned cold, but I stepped between the moment and whatever decision he was about to make. No, I said. He looked at me. No what? Whatever you are thinking. We do this legally. Hotel security. Corporate counsel. Documentation. No intimidation. No shortcuts. Vincent held my gaze. The silence lasted 5 seconds. Then 10. Finally, he nodded. Your way. Daniel released a breath. I did too. By 6 that evening, Rebecca Shaw and corporate counsel had secured the access records. Keller had been suspended pending investigation, and my personal information had been protected. No spectacle. No threats. Just evidence. Vincent found me afterward in the empty ballroom, sitting beside a table covered in untouched white linens. You could have handled that differently, I said. Yes. Why did you listen to me? He pulled out the chair across from mine. Because you were right. I smiled tiredly. You really need to stop saying that. It is ruining your reputation. He almost laughed. Then his expression softened. Emily, everyone in my world keeps telling me power means never letting anyone else choose the rules. And what do you think? He looked at me for a long moment. I think I met someone who makes me want better rules. My chest tightened, but before I could answer, Rebecca entered holding a printed report. Emily, she said, we found something else. She placed the page in front of me. Aaron Blake had checked into the Grand Ellison twice before Friday night. Both reservations had been made under the same corporate account. I looked at the company name, then at Vincent. He was already staring at it. The account belonged to Moretti Logistics. The Moretti Logistics account number sat on the page like a fingerprint. Vincent did not speak for several seconds. That frightened me more than anger would have. Someone inside your company arranged his rooms, I said. Vincent nodded once. Which means Keller was only one door in a much longer hallway. Rebecca quietly excused herself, taking the report to corporate counsel, and suddenly the ballroom felt enormous. Vincent pulled out his phone. I need to move you somewhere secure tonight. I stared at him. No. His eyes lifted. Emily, this is not the moment to argue. Then do not turn it into one. Someone connected to my company has been asking for your address, which is why hotel security flagged my information and law enforcement can handle anything credible. His jaw tightened. You think that is enough? I think it is my decision. I am trying to protect you. I know. My voice softened, but I did not move. That is exactly why you need to hear me. He put the phone down. I am listening. A car becomes a driver. A driver becomes someone outside my building. Then someone checks where I go, who I see, when I come home. You call that protection because your intentions are good. But eventually my life stops belonging to me. Vincent looked away toward the dark windows. You believe I would become your jailer. I believe you are used to solving fear with control. That landed harder than anything else I had said to him. His shoulders went still. And if control keeps you alive? Safe is not the same as free. Silence filled the ballroom. I could hear the ventilation system humming above us and distant silverware being stacked behind the service doors. Vincent finally looked at me again. There was no anger in his face now, only something tired. My father believed trust made him weak, he said. After what happened to our family, I spent years making sure I would never depend on trust. And did it work? He gave a quiet, humorless laugh. Until you kissed me. I smiled despite myself. That was a terrible strategic decision on my part. For both of us. The warmth lasted only a second. Then he picked up his phone, made one call, and said, cancel the car. No personnel outside Miss Carter's residence. No monitoring unless she requests it. He ended the call. I blinked. That is it. You said no. You are actually letting me walk out of here. Something changed in his expression. Emily, I never had the right to stop you. The words hit me with unexpected force. I had spent days pushing against his power so hard that I had almost missed the moment he chose not to use it. What about the investigation? I asked. My legal team will cooperate with the hotel and the appropriate authorities. The internal account records will be preserved. Your name stays out of anything that does not require it. No shortcuts. No shortcuts. I picked up my purse. My feet did not move. This was what I had demanded. My life. My choice. My exit. So why did leaving suddenly hurt? Vincent noticed, of course. He noticed everything. But he did not reach for me. Good night, Emily. Good night, Vincent. I walked through the ballroom doors, crossed the lobby, and stepped onto Madison Avenue. No black sedan waited at the curb. No driver followed me. No message appeared on my phone. For the first time since my birthday, Vincent Moretti gave me exactly what I had asked for. Space. 3 days passed. Then 5. The investigation continued quietly. Keller remained suspended, and Moretti Logistics announced an internal audit. My routine returned. Coffee at 7:40. Staff meeting at 9. Event sheets. Vendor calls. Subway home. Everything was normal again. I should have felt relieved. Instead, every time the elevator opened on the 42nd floor, some ridiculous part of me expected to see a charcoal suit and gray-blue eyes. On the 7th night, I finally admitted the truth. I had spent so much time proving I could walk away that I had never asked myself whether I wanted to. I opened our old group chat and found Madison's message about weekend plans. Beneath it was the name of the lounge where this whole mess had started. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I grabbed my coat. This time, nobody dared me. The lounge looked smaller when I walked into it alone. Maybe places always do after they have changed your life. The same amber lights glowed above the bar. The same music moved softly beneath conversations. For one ridiculous second, I wondered whether I had imagined everything that had happened since my birthday. Then I saw him. Vincent sat at the same leather booth near the windows, a glass of sparkling water beside one hand, and his phone resting face down near the other. No meeting. No crowd around him. Just Vincent, looking out at Manhattan as if the city had finally stopped asking him questions. I nearly turned around. My courage had carried me through hotel investigations, executive meetings, and conversations with a man whose name could change the temperature of a room. Apparently, walking 20 feet towards someone I missed was harder. Vincent noticed me before I reached the booth. His expression did not change immediately. Then he stood. Emily. Hearing my name in his voice made the entire week disappear. Hi. Brilliant. 7 days of thinking, and that was what I had. Hi. His eyes moved toward the entrance behind me. Is everything all right? Everything is fine. The hotel. Fine. Did someone contact you? No. His shoulders relaxed slightly. Then why are you here? I looked at the empty seat across from him. May I sit down? Something almost amused crossed his face. You have never asked permission before. I am trying something new. He gestured toward the seat. I sat. Vincent remained quiet. Of course he did. He had promised me space, and apparently that promise included refusing to rescue me from my own awkwardness. I kept waiting for you to call, I admitted. You asked me not to interfere. I know. So I did not. I know that too. He studied me. Are you angry about it? I laughed softly. That would be incredibly unfair. You have been unfair before. So have you. True. That single word made me smile. Then the smile faded because I had not come here for easy conversation. I thought I wanted my old life back, I said. Coffee, work, the subway, problems that could be solved with spreadsheets and emergency sewing kits. That sounds peaceful. It was. I looked directly at him. That was the problem. Vincent said nothing. I took a breath. You gave me what I asked for. You listened when I said no. You let me walk away even though every part of you wanted to solve the situation your way. You were right. There you go again. His mouth curved faintly. Bad habit. Terrible for your reputation. The silence between us changed. Softer now. Familiar. Vincent leaned back slightly. Emily, I need you to understand something. If you came here because you feel responsible for what happened, you are not. If you came because you think you owe me anything, you do not. That is not why I came. Then why? My heartbeat became painfully loud. I remembered Madison pointing across this room. I remembered champagne and laughter and one reckless decision. Back then, I had crossed the floor because someone challenged me. Tonight, nobody was watching. Nobody was cheering. Nobody had asked me to prove anything. I stood and moved around the table. Vincent rose slowly, uncertainty appearing in his eyes for perhaps the first time since I had met him. Did your friends dare you again? He asked. No. Then what are you doing? I stopped in front of him, making my own decision. I leaned forward and kissed him gently. Nothing dramatic. Nothing reckless. Just a quiet answer to a question I had spent 7 days avoiding. When I stepped back, Vincent did not reach for me. He waited. Even now, he waited for my choice. The first time, I whispered, I kissed you because someone dared me. His gray blue eyes stayed on mine. And this time, I smiled. This time, nobody in the world could have. Talk me into it. His expression softened. That does not answer my question. Yes, it does. I took his hand because I wanted to. Outside the windows, Manhattan kept moving, indifferent to us. Cars crossed intersections. Office lights flickered above dark streets. Somewhere, people were making careful decisions and reckless ones, never knowing which would matter years later. I used to think the night I met Vincent changed my life because I made a mistake. I was wrong. The mistake only opened the door. What changed my life was learning that courage was not walking through it. Courage was knowing I could walk away, then choosing for myself whether I wanted to return.